Imagine, a man rises from nothing, he leads millions, rebuilds a nation from ruins, and then, with his own hands, destroys it. His decisions lead to the deaths of over 70 million people. But here's the most shocking part. This man never intended to be a leader. He just wanted to be an artist. So how did a failed painter become the world's most infamous dictator? This is not just the story of Adolf Hitler. This is the story of how a single man manipulated an entire nation and nearly changed the course of history forever. Chapter 1. Artist or Dictator. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, Austria. His father, Alois Hitler, was a strict government official, while his mother, Clara, was a loving and protective woman. Young Adolf was a quiet but imaginative child who loved to draw. He dreamed of becoming a great artist, not a politician. At 17, he applied to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna. His dream was shattered when the Academy rejected him, not once, but twice. His artwork was deemed unremarkable, lacking the skill and creativity required for admission. Devastated, he wandered through the streets of Vienna, trying to make a living by selling postcards and small paintings. But Vienna wasn't just a city of culture and art, it was also a breeding ground for radical political ideas. Living in poverty, Hitler found himself drawn to extremist ideologies, particularly those that blamed Jews and immigrants for society's problems. These ideas would stay with him for the rest of his life. Chapter 2. A War That Gave Birth to Hatred. In 1914, World War I erupted, and Hitler saw his chance for a new purpose. He eagerly enlisted in the German army and was assigned as a messenger on the Western Front. War hardened him. He witnessed death and destruction daily, yet he thrived in the chaos. Hitler was wounded twice and awarded the Iron Cross for bravery. But in 1918, the unthinkable happened. Germany lost the war. When the armistice was signed, Hitler was recovering in a hospital, temporarily blinded by a gas attack. The news of Germany's surrender crushed him. He refused to believe that Germany had been defeated by superior military forces. Instead, he embraced a conspiracy theory that Germany had been stabbed in the back by Jews, communists, and traitors within its own government. This belief became the foundation of his future political ideology. As Germany fell into economic crisis and political instability, Hitler saw an opportunity. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He was a man with a mission. Chapter 3. Hitler's Plan and the Rise of the Nazi Party. After the war, Germany was in chaos. Inflation was skyrocketing, unemployment was rampant, and people were desperate for a leader who could restore their dignity. Hitler joined a small extremist group known as the German Workers' Party. His powerful speeches quickly made him its most influential figure. By 1920, the party rebranded itself as the National Socialist German Workers' Party, better known as the Nazi Party. It didn't take long for Hitler to realize that words alone wouldn't bring him to power. In 1923, he attempted a coup in Munich, known as the Beer Hall Putsch. The coup failed, and Hitler was arrested. In prison, he wrote Mein Kampf, My Struggle, outlining his vision for Germany, a vision built on racial purity, anti-Semitism, and absolute dictatorship. Though many dismissed him as a fanatic, Hitler was patient. He knew his time would come, and it did. When the Great Depression hit in 1929, Germany was thrown into economic collapse. Millions lost their jobs. People were starving. And Hitler? He promised salvation. I will rebuild Germany. I will restore our pride, he declared. By 1933, he had risen to the highest position in the country, Chancellor of Germany. Within months, he dismantled democracy and declared himself Führer. Germany was now under his total control. Chapter 4. The Road to War. The world watched in shock as Hitler transformed Germany into a military powerhouse. He defied the Treaty of Versailles, rebuilt the army, and began expanding German territory. In 1939, he made his move. On September 1st, Germany invaded Poland. Britain and France declared war. World War II had begun. At first, Hitler's army seemed unstoppable. Poland fell in weeks. France surrendered in just 6 weeks. His troops marched into Paris as he stood triumphantly at the Eiffel Tower. He launched a relentless bombing campaign on Britain, nearly bringing the country to its knees. But Hitler's thirst for power was insatiable. In 1941, he made his biggest mistake. He invaded the Soviet Union. He expected a quick victory. Instead, he encountered a brutal Russian winter and fierce Soviet resistance. His armies froze and starved on the Eastern Front. The tide of the war was turning. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Hitler's darkest plans were being executed. The Holocaust. Millions of Jews, political prisoners, and so-called undesirables were sent to concentration camps. The world would later learn the full scale of these atrocities. By 1944, Germany was losing the war. The Allies invaded Normandy. The Soviets pushed deeper into Eastern Europe. Hitler's empire was crumbling. Chapter 5. Hitler's Final Days. By April 1945, Berlin was in ruins. Soviet troops had surrounded the city. Hitler retreated to his underground bunker, refusing to surrender. He ranted about betrayals and insisted that Germany would still win. But reality had caught up with him. His closest allies were either dead or abandoning him. Even some of his most loyal generals saw that the war was lost. On April 30th, 1945, with Soviet forces just blocks away, Hitler and his wife, Eva Braun, took their own lives. Their bodies were burned, leaving little trace of the man who had once controlled half of Europe. With Hitler gone, Nazi Germany collapsed. But the scars of his reign would last for generations. Conclusion: lessons from Hitler's rise and fall. Adolf Hitler wasn't just a dictator, he was a master manipulator. He didn't seize power by force, he was given it by people desperate for hope. He turned their fears and frustrations into hatred, using propaganda to control them. His rise to power is a warning. Tyranny doesn't always come with guns and violence. It often begins with words, promises, and lies. But here's the question: could history repeat itself? Could another leader, in another time, use the same tactics to rise to power? Have we really learned from history? If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.